The fluorescent lights flickered once, a brief stutter that made the vinyl linoleum feel colder under my shoes. The hum of the refrigeration units was steady, low, almost comforting. I had been working the night shift at the 24-hour convenience store for 3 weeks, and I knew every creak in the floor, every clink of the registers, every hum of the soda coolers. Or so I thought. It was just past 2 a.m. when the bell above the door rang. I glanced up from the stack of returned lottery slips I was sorting, and a man stepped inside. He wore a black coat, tall collar pulled up as if to shield his face, though the dim light revealed enough to see he had pale skin and a crooked smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Evening," I said, forcing my voice to carry the usual friendly tone. "Looking for anything in particular?" He shook his head slowly, then leaned slightly on the handle of the door. The wind gusted in briefly, carrying with it the faint smell of wet asphalt and something else, something metallic I couldn't place. "Is the exit clerk working tonight?" he asked. I froze. The words felt wrong or maybe impossible. "Excuse me," I said carefully, blinking. "The exit clerk," he repeated, with the same casual, expectant tone you'd use asking if the cashier is free. "You know, the one at the exit?" I swallowed. I had never heard that term before in my life. In the employee manual, in training, in the hasty notes my manager scribbled, there was nothing about an exit clerk. I'm the only clerk on tonight," I said, trying to keep the confusion out of my voice. "We don't have anyone else scheduled." His smile tightened. "Right. That's why I'm asking if the exit clerk is here." There was a pause. He seemed to be studying me, like he expected me to understand something I didn't. The fluorescent lights flickered again. I heard a faint tap from the back of the store, near the shelves of instant noodles. My hands itched to check the cameras, but the feed was static in that corner, grainy and sluggish. The tap sounded again. Then nothing. I'm the only one here," I repeated. My voice sounded too loud. Even the refrigeration hum seemed muted, as if the store itself had been holding its breath. He nodded slowly, and without another word, wandered toward the snack aisle. I watched him out of the corner of my eye. His movements were deliberate, smooth, like he knew exactly where to go. He didn't pick up anything, just lingered, as though waiting for someone to appear. Minutes passed. I tried to focus on routine. Stocking shelves, wiping down the counter, checking the expired dates on dairy. But the air had shifted. There was a sudden chill, the kind that creeps over your shoulders and makes your hair stand on end, though the thermostat reads 72 degrees. I noticed the reflection in the glass of the cooler doors. The man wasn't there, but his coat hung in the reflection anyway, like he was invisible to the mirrors. "Can I help you find anything?" I called, voice steadier than I felt. He turned toward me, head tilting slightly. "No, just waiting for the exit clerk." I frowned. "Sir, there isn't an exit clerk on. Just me. You're asking for someone who doesn't work here." He chuckled softly, a low, vibrating sound that seemed to ripple along the shelves. No, that's not right. There is an exit clerk." I blinked at him. "I don't understand. There's only the front register. The exit is the door. That's it." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "You don't see it yet. Not everyone does. But you will." A distant thump echoed from somewhere behind the frozen food section. I whipped around. Nothing. The store was empty, save for him and me. I should have called the manager, called the cops, done something. But something about the way he said it, the casual certainty, froze me in place. "Look," I said finally, trying to sound firmer. "I don't know what you mean. There's only this one door, the register, me. That's the exit. There's no." The words died on my tongue. Behind me, the door to the storage room was slightly ajar. I was sure I had closed it when I started my shift. A faint light spilled from it, yellow and warm, not the fluorescent harshness of the main store. I could see shadows moving, shifting like something breathing in the corner. I swallowed. That's just the storage room," I said. He smiled, wider this time. "Ah, the exit clerk doesn't appear where everyone expects. But she's there." "Who's there?" I asked, my voice trembling now. The hum of the lights seemed louder, pressing against my eardrums. He shrugged. Doesn't matter. You'll meet her eventually. Everyone does. The lights flickered again, longer this time, and when they steadied, the man was gone. The doorbell hadn't rung. No sound of a door sliding closed. I checked the front. Empty street, empty lot. My stomach turned, a slow tightening that made my legs weak. I told myself he'd left through the back. Probably a late-night delivery worker, some prankster. But my eyes kept drifting to the storage room. Something about the light, the shadows, it felt alive. And then I noticed. The floor in front of the storage room was scuffed. Not like my shoes, not like regular wear. These were footprints, barefoot, leading in and fading into the light. I considered calling someone, but my phone was dead. No signal, of course. The hum of the coolers had changed. It was irregular, stuttering almost like a heartbeat. And I swear, for a fraction of a second, the reflection of the man appeared in the glass cooler, standing behind the faint outline of someone else. A shape I couldn't quite recognize, but it moved against the light in the storage room. I backed toward the counter, heart hammering. The register keys felt slippery under my fingers, the air too cold for a summer night. I told myself I was imagining it. I was tired. My eyes played tricks. But even as I tried to focus on the mundane, a whisper skated along the ceiling tiles. "Exit Clerk." I froze. The sound was soft, almost polite, but the tone carried a weight, a certainty, as though the store itself were murmuring secrets I was never meant to hear. I hadn't seen her or anyone else, but I knew she existed now. Somewhere beyond the shelves, beyond the lights, waiting. I spent the rest of the shift in the front, refusing to move, listening to the faint hum, watching the storage door as if it were the eye of the world. When morning came, the manager arrived, cheerful, carrying a coffee. "Everything all right?" she asked. "Yes," I said, but my voice didn't convince even me. I didn't mention the man, or the footprints, or the whisper. I didn't ask what she meant when she said, "Sometimes the exit clerk takes a night off, but she always shows up eventually." I clocked out, trying to shake the feeling that the store was watching me as I left. Outside, the sun was rising, and the lot looked perfectly normal. No strange footprints, no lingering shadows, no one waiting. But I know what I saw, and I know what I heard. Tonight, when I return, I'll be waiting at my register, waiting for the exit clerk. Letters in the rack. The fluorescent lights buzzed like a swarm of flies above me, each flicker casting the aisles in brief, wavering shadows. I had worked the night shift at Harper's Quick Stop for 2 months now, and the rhythm of the store had settled into a kind of muted monotony. The hum of the refrigeration units, the chime of the doorbell every time a stray customer wandered in, the cold bite of the linoleum beneath my worn sneakers. It was just past 3 a.m., and the store was quiet except for the occasional creak of the building settling. I was restocking the candy racks near the back when I first noticed it. A gap in the row of chocolate bars, where a single Snickers should have been. At first, I thought I had miscounted. I frowned and reached for the bar, but my hand met empty space. Odd, I thought, not really a concern. Sometimes deliveries got shuffled or someone had taken the last one. I continued down the aisle, checking rows more carefully. And then I saw it again. A Hershey's bar missing from its usual slot. Then a Kit Kat, then a pack of Reese's. The gaps were random, at least at first glance. But as I scanned the rack more methodically, an unsettling pattern emerged. It wasn't random at all. I stepped back and traced the missing spots with my eyes. Letters. Each missing candy represented a letter. And when I pieced them together, S-M, I froze. My name. Sam. I whispered to the empty aisle, my voice sounding absurdly loud against the hum of the refrigerators. I laughed nervously, rubbing the back of my neck. It had to be a coincidence. Someone must have been playing a trick, or maybe the store stock was just chaotic tonight. But the cold, hollow certainty in the way the letters lined up made my stomach twist. I turned to glance down the other aisles. half expecting a prankster to step out from behind the potato chips. There was no one, only the distorted reflections of myself in the glass of the freezer doors. My own eyes staring back, wide and unblinking. I returned to the candy rack, scanning each row like a detective. Every letter of my name was represented, scattered among the shelves. Missing Twix for S, absent Milky Way for gone Snickers for M. I stepped closer. The gaps seemed deliberate, too precise to be chance. A faint shuffling noise drew my attention toward the back of the store. Nothing, just the faint hiss of the soda cooler. I blinked against the flickering light, trying to tell myself I was imagining things. I moved to the next aisle, and the feeling of being watched prickled at the back of my neck. The cameras in the corners of the ceiling, small black domes reflecting the light, had always been unnerving, but now they felt like eyes following my every move with intention. I could almost hear them whispering, cataloging my reactions. I returned to the candy rack again. This time, I started arranging the missing letters in my head, SAM. But there were more gaps further down, letters I didn't immediately recognize. I touched the empty slot where a Twix should have been and felt the cold plastic of the shelf beneath my fingertips. My pulse thumped in my ears. Could the store be rearranging itself? It sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but the thought clung to me stubbornly. Each aisle seemed subtly altered from memory. A pack of gum moved a few inches. A shelf of chips rotated so the logo faced a different way. A display of energy drinks shifted an inch closer to the door. Small, insignificant changes, but accumulative like a language I wasn't meant to read. I shook my head, trying to clear the creeping unease. Maybe it was exhaustion. Night shifts did strange things to the mind, especially after 2 a.m. But then I caught a reflection in the freezer glass. A distorted glimpse of myself standing at the end of the aisle and froze. Something was off. My reflection didn't quite match my movements. I lifted my hand, and the reflection hesitated before following. A laugh, low and hesitant, escaped my throat. I needed to finish my shift. Just a few more hours, and I could leave this building that smelled faintly of bleach and stale popcorn. But the candy rack called me back. I could feel it, though I didn't understand why. I walked slowly along the row, counting the empty slots again. Each one seemed to pulse in the flickering light, like a heartbeat waiting for me to acknowledge it. The store was speaking, I realized, not with words, but with absence, with intent. I leaned closer, straining my ears. Nothing but the soft hum and the occasional creak. Yet in that silence, I could swear the air had weight, like it was pressing in around me, waiting. I started checking other sections almost compulsively. A bottle of soda missing its label on the top shelf. A candy bag hung at an unnatural angle. A carton of gum rotated backward. Patterns formed in my mind, though I couldn't articulate them. It was as if the store was arranging itself according to some hidden logic, some knowledge it had of me, of my name, of my presence. By now, the store felt alive. Not alive like a building vibrating with energy, but alive in the way a predator watches, patiently and deliberately, from hidden places. Every flicker of the lights, every faint shuffle of boxes in the storeroom, every distorted reflection was a reminder. It knew I was here. I tried to convince myself it was coincidence again. Maybe it really was. Maybe I had imagined the letters. But deep down, the certainty had settled in my chest like a stone. I glanced at the clock above the register. 4:17 a.m. Only a few more hours. I could survive that. I could get through it. And yet, when I returned to the candy rack one final time, I caught sight of a new pattern forming. I didn't know when it appeared. I didn't know how long it had been there. But there, in the top row, was a new sequence of missing candies. Not my name, not yet. Something longer. Something deliberate. I swallowed hard and leaned closer. The gaps stretched down the aisle, and I realized with a shiver that it was a message. A message waiting to be completed, like the store itself was preparing for me, anticipating my movements, learning me as I learned its pattern. I backed away slowly, my sneakers squeaking against the linoleum, eyes darting to every shelf, every freezer. every glass door reflecting my face back at me. The cameras above didn't blink, didn't look away. And then I understood. It wasn't just spelling my name anymore. It was spelling something beyond my comprehension, something that I wasn't ready to read. I turned toward the door, my hands trembling on the register, but a soft, almost imperceptible click echoed through the store. The automatic doors had locked themselves. I wasn't alone. Not in the way I had imagined before. The store was aware, and whatever intelligence lingered behind the flickering lights and missing letters was waiting, patient as a shadow, for the next letter it would claim from me. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen and silent, listening to the faint hum and the distant creak of shelves shifting in empty aisles. Hours? Minutes? Time had lost meaning. I only know that when I finally dared to breathe, the candy rack, the one that had seemed so mundane just hours before, spoke again in its quiet, empty way, and I realized, with a chill that crawled up my spine, that it wasn't spelling my name anymore. It was spelling mine and something else. A promise I couldn't read, but could already feel. I'll be back tonight, and I suspect the store will be waiting.